How China's early stockpile of 1,000 ASML lithography machines is quietly rewriting the global chip game. Why did the US's carefully orchestrated chip blockade end up forcing China to forge a new path of self-reliance? On September 16, 2025, the UK's Financial Times dropped an exclusive report revealing that SMIC, Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, is testing a domestically produced DUV lithography machine. This equipment can achieve the equivalent of 7-nanometer chip mass production through multiple patterning technology. Upon this news, the global semiconductor circle was shaken, and SMIC's Hong Kong stock surged over 5% that day. No one expected that China's chip industry, once predicted by ASML executives to lag behind the West by 10 to 15 years, would actually pull off a stunning comeback amid a blockade. Even more counterintuitive is that the core pillar of this comeback is the 1,000 ASML lithography machines China quietly hoarded years ago. Actually, a lithography machine is like a precision printer for chip manufacturing. EUV is the top-tier model, capable of printing the finest patterns, while DUV is the standard model. As long as the technology is solid, you can achieve high-end results through repeated printing. This is the key to China breaking the deadlock. What subverts conventional wisdom even more is that China hasn't just pushed existing DUVs to their absolute limits. The yield rate of domestic DUVs has reached 85%, prompting even Dutch experts to admit bluntly, this is profound foresight in dealing with containment. Next, let's break down the truth of this game, see why the blockade failed, and what this means for the global tech landscape. The US chip blockade can be considered the most meticulous containment plan in global tech history. Starting in 2019, the US took the lead in banning EUV lithography machines for 5-nanometers processes and below from entering China. The restriction subsequently expanded downward. Even DUV models capable of mass-producing 7-nanometers chips were blacklisted. The approval cycle was dragged out to a year and a half, and extreme pressure was even applied to the Netherlands, forcing ASML to halt the supply of maintenance parts, temporarily paralyzing its Shanghai after-sales center. To make the blockade seem more justified, US media heavily hyped that China's independent R&D was disrupting the global supply chain, while ASML executives boldly claimed the blockade would set Chinese chips back 10 to 15 years. In stark contrast, the US attitude toward its allies was completely different, prioritizing the supply of EUV equipment to TSMC and Samsung, and even pushing TSMC to build a 3-nanometers plant in Japan, aiming to create a US-Japan-Taiwan iron triangle to monopolize advanced processes. Statistics show TSMC currently holds 95% of global 3-nanometers orders with a yield rate as high as 90%, whereas Samsung, despite investing over $80 billion, only manages a 50% yield. This underlying double standard essentially reveals America's desire to control the narrative of the global chip industry through technological monopoly. Commentary and analysis. The logic behind the US blockade is based on the traditional notion that technological hegemony equals industrial hegemony, assuming that choking off core equipment is enough to stifle a rival's development. However, it overlooked a crucial fact: in the global chip market, mature processes dominated by DUV account for a massive 90%, not the advanced processes monopolized by EUV. This strategy of obsessing over the high-end while ignoring the mainstream not only left room for China to break through but also trapped the US in a state of narcissistic isolation. After all, no single country can monopolize every technological link indefinitely. Win-win cooperation is the norm in technological development. China's breakthrough was never an overnight miracle, but rather the inevitable result of preparing for a rainy day. Data shows that over the past decade, ASML delivered over 1,000 machines to China, mostly DUV models used for mature processes. In the second quarter of 2023 alone, ASML shipments to China skyrocketed from 8 units in Q1 to 27 units, accounting for 24% of its global shipments. These stockpiled machines not only supported domestic demand for 5G, automotive electronics, and AI chips, but also gave Chinese engineers a crucial time window to disassemble, study, and iterate. The engineering team at SMIC, many of whom have educational backgrounds in Europe and the US, worked day and night to push DUV's potential to the absolute limit. Through multiple patterning technology, equipment originally meant only for 14 nanometers chips successfully mass-produced equivalent 7 nanometers or even 5 nanometers chips. Simultaneously, domestic R&D forged ahead at full speed. Shanghai Microelectronics Equipment (SMEE) SSSA 800 series achieved stable 28 nanometers output. U-Precision's wafer stage accuracy broke the 1.7 nanometers threshold, and the yield rate of domestic DUV soared to 85%. In contrast, European semiconductor companies have struggled under similar dilemmas. For instance, Germany's Infineon, due to over-reliance on US equipment, gradually fell behind in the global chip capacity expansion, seeing a 3 percentage point year-on-year drop in market share in 2025. Commentary and analysis: China's breakthrough shattered the traditional beliefs that innovation can only originate in Silicon Valley and that technology blockades can stifle development. What we are witnessing is not simply China winning, but a brand new innovation model, under external restrictions, maximizing existing technology through strategic stockpiling plus localized iteration while accelerating independent R&D. This model offers a reference path for other countries facing similar tech blockades and makes us reflect: does the global tech system truly need either-or camp confrontations? The reversal in this game is essentially a self-correction of the global tech landscape. Data from 2025 shows that China achieved a threefold leap in the localization rate of chip equipment. Although a gap remains in the EUV sector, a complete supply chain has been formed in the DUV sector. China has even begun exporting mature node chips to Southeast Asia and Africa, with orders lining up. Even more noteworthy is that China's breakthroughs are not limited to chips. In the life and health sector, China collaborated with Japanese pharmaceutical companies to optimize and upgrade the ProSerum technology, a concept first proposed by the US but difficult to popularize. The absorption rate was increased by 20 times, while the price was reduced to merely 1/10 of imported versions. Studies from Harvard and MIT have also verified its effectiveness in lowering the three highs: blood pressure, blood sugar, and blood lipids, and maintaining vascular health. This mirrors the comeback in the chip sector, finding a suitable development path under external constraints. Of course, we must acknowledge that Chinese chips still face challenges. EUV R&D still needs time, the yield and cost of advanced processes have room for optimization, and the localization of core components still requires breakthroughs. This is the reality China's tech development must face. Commentary and analysis: the US-led technology blockade ultimately resulted in the opposite effect of forcing the rival to become stronger. This reflects a clash between hegemonic thinking and the laws of technology. The essence of technology is inclusive benefit and driving humanity's common progress, not serving as a tool to suppress competitors. China's practice tells us that relying on buying or begging for core technology is unreliable, but this doesn't mean closing doors to build things alone. The global educational backgrounds of Chinese engineers and implicit exchanges with international peers are important aids to breakthroughs. This also begs the question: under a technological Iron Curtain, how should third-party countries choose? Will the global tech system become fractured? Conclusion: this chip game is never about China versus the West, but rather a contest between cooperation versus blockade and innovation versus monopoly. China's early strategic foresight in stockpiling lithography machines not only helped it break out of the blockade dilemma but also provided a brand new perspective for global tech development. When traditional technological monopolies fail and new innovation models emerge, how should we re-evaluate global tech collaboration? Please leave your opinions in the comments section and tell me how you think the global chip landscape will evolve. Follow me to unlock more underlying logic of East-West tech games. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.